Hey guys, back with another Echoing Thoughts podcast here, episode number 123. In this episode, I wanted to do more guides for you guys, what people are asking about. Like my last one was Gloom. This time I'm going to do hard Archon, and next week is going to be hard solo Will, right? I'll be honest, Solo Archon is one of my least favorite bosses to solo. It is just such a huge pain in the butt. But I'm going to go through that. I also want to talk about kind of what is going on in the game right now for me personally, what I'm focusing on and trying to take advantage of. And then just talk a little bit about the upcoming February patch with the teaser. So a lot to get into. Excited to just talk about the game. I'm really enjoying the state of the game right now. And don't forget to like and subscribe. Appreciate all of the community joining the Discord, hanging out there. I appreciate all of the comments and the likes and the supporters. It was a really fun January, and excited to kind of keep it rolling. So first, before I get into what is going on in the game right now, I want to quickly talk about my thoughts on how challenging or how to compare the new bosses and how difficult they are from, like right now, I've done Chaos Will solo and team. I've done Chaos Lucid solo and team. I've done, Varys Hilla, obviously solo and team, and everything from below, right? And we're going to start Dark now this weekend, just kind of get our eye on it. But so I wanted to, people have been asking me how would I compare these bosses, right? And I would say solo and team for all these bosses are quite different. Even though a lot of the mechanics are the same, there's just a lot of different mechanics to it that make them so unique. So I'm just gonna go kind of quickly solo comparison, the three right now: Chaos Will, Chaos Lucid, Varys Hilla, and then I'm gonna do team. Okay, so right off the bat, I would say for solo, the hardest one for me personally, and I'm gonna take this into my perspective is when you are at the lowest kind of gear requirements to clear the boss. Okay, it's not like now where Varys Hilla practice solo mode takes me 3 minutes, Lucid takes me 7 minutes, and Chaos Will is pretty quick, right? I want to talk about like when it was my first clear, for those people that are really trying to test if they can do it or not, right? And I think that for me, if you are, I would say the room for error in Chaos Lucid is the smallest compared to Varys Hilla and compared to Chaos Will, which is crazy to think because hard Lucid is a joke since it first got released. It was like so many people were clearing it. Dream Rebuild prices tanked so quickly that you wouldn't think that Chaos Lucid would be that difficult. But for some reason, when you are first trying to clear and you are at that low, that like minimum requirement for damage, the room for error is so small. Starting with phase one is pretty tough, right? It really comes around to minigame, having enough DPS to have enough altar damage, done enough damage to get an altar charge, cleanse charge, and then how impactful each death is, right? So if you know anything about Chaos Lucid, each death means 100% physical damage reduction for attack. So it's either physical attack or magic attack, and it lasts about 30 seconds. And when you're short on DPS, this is such a pain in the butt. When you're so short on maximizing damage to get altar cleanses or to do, just to continue to stay out of minigames, it is such a pain in the butt. I would say Chaos Lucid, if you guys saw me grind it out on my Pally pre-6 job, you pretty much have to play perfect. You have to time out, sometimes you have to time out your mini games in order to get to force a mini game in order to have enough charges for your burst windows, right? There was, you had to do different things, save burst, maximize it. You had to time your stuns out perfectly. It was just, there's so many little intricate things when you are tight on DPS that Chaos Lucid made Chaos Lucid so challenging. And on top of that, the worst part is the glitches, right? You guys, if you haven't done Chaos Lucid, the glitches from whatever it is while you're jumping around, you glitch, you teleport randomly into a death, and it is just the worst, the most tilting thing from any boss that you can do currently. And apparently it's still a mechanic because there has not been a bug fix on it or changes to it since it got released. So that is the biggest part. And then surprisingly, phase 3, where it's just a straight tunnel DPS for Chaos Lucid, is not as easy as you think. You still have to kind of time out and save some burst, save some mini burst, whatever it is, to get to phase 3, but also to clear phase 3, because it's still quite a bit of damage. It's about 900 bill damage for phase 3. You have to do it about 45 seconds. So if you're tight on DPS, you really have to kind of strategically use your burst and save some damage to finish it off. So Chaos Lucid is number 1. I would say for first timers, Varus Hilla is number 2, because of, again, just how, and this is hard Varus Hilla, because of how unique the classes, how unique the boss is, and just the different strategies, whether you take the altar, you don't take the altar, just the mechanic of not being able to heal, not being able to use your power elixirs, and just solely survive on skill, mechanics, dodging attacks, minimizing the, the knockbacks, knowing the rotations, when to dodge skulls, green eyes, when to stun, to dodge the necrotic. There's a lot that goes into Varus Hilla that I think is very challenging, that it just takes reps, right? You can't, it's really hard to just walk into Varus Hilla blind and sort of clear. Okay, so Varus Hilla is still, for a lot of people, first time at it. While Chaos Will is third, still very, very hard. And what makes it extra challenging is that it's a 15-minute fight. But if you're doing Chaos Will, you've already done Hard Will. And for the most part, the mechanics are the same, right? Except for, obviously the tests at phase 2 are different, which is a whole nother beast. But that can, you can figure that out, right? You can learn the test, and there's room for error there. Phase 1 test is much more challenging in Chaos, but again, I think that there's a strategy there that you can figure out. And the thing about Chaos Will is phase 1 is that you'll know right away if you have to restart, right? Like, yeah, that's painful to have to restart after a minute and a half, but what's more painful is kind of failing any other boss, Chaos Lucid, Varus Hilla, at the 9+ minute mark, which is where most people fail, right? Those bosses. So Will, for me personally, a lot of the times my issues, and I think a lot of people's issues, was phase 1 test, because there's a bit of RNG to it and getting the orbs and collecting the orbs. But I thought that of the 3, it was the easiest. Not saying it was easy by any means, but you have familiarity with it, so you kind of know going into it. The attack skill rotation is the same. Jumping, the gauges are the same. For the most part, 85-90% of it is the same. Even phase 3. The nice part about phase 3, it's actually smoother than hard solo, which is surprising, right? Because in Chaos Will, the gauge feels much faster. So you have more cleansing, you have more gauge to cleanse. Whereas in hard solo, the hardest part about phase 3 is that you are lacking gauge to cleanse. Even though you can cleanse 4 webs in hard mode solo, and I think only 2 in Chaos solo, it's still very, it feels like you're not starved. You're definitely not starved for gauge. It's more about when to use them versus like praying RNG wise that I'm gonna get gauge, due to if I get hit by a spider leg that I can't dodge or not, right? If that makes sense. So solo mode, I would do Chaos Lucid, Varus Hilla, Chaos Will. Now for team mode, I would slightly put it I would change the order per se, right? I would, for number 3, I would still have, I would actually put Chaos Lucid number 3 for team mode. Now that I think about it, no, I think Chaos Will is still, well, here's the thing, right? I think I would put Chaos Lucid third only because the mechanics are much simpler. As far as like you can, if only a few people know how to cleanse the altars, if only a few people know how to can do comms really well, then there's a higher chance of success for Chaos Lucid for like 7 out of the 10 people. It's just full on just DPS and just listen for comms, right? And you can clear that way. The frustrating part and why I hesitate to put it at number 3 so quickly is because Chaos Lucid deaths are so avoidable. Minigame, dodging charge, not getting hit by sickle. There's not much to it. The thing that made me pause was that Chaos Lucid deaths are way more tilting for me, and I think for most people that lead groups, because of how avoidable the deaths are, but also how impactful the deaths can be if it forces you into minigame, if it forces you into like damage, the huge damage reduction, which again sets you back, and every minigame adds up. And if you die in minigame, again, adds up, and it just sort of snowballs very, very quickly. But so for me, it's the most tilting because it's the most avoidable. But I still think, like, in the grand scheme of things, if 7, I could say over half the team would not even know what to do, and if they just listened to comms, they dodged the orbs in minigame, and they just didn't die to charge, then you can clear comfortably. And those people wouldn't even, without even needing to worry about everyone having to memorize test or dodge strings on their own and things like that, right? So they have Chaos Lucid number 3 team mode, kind of, right? So number 2, I would say number 2 is still, I would say it's Chaos Will. Again, because there's familiarity with it. Same as solo mode, right? But the hard part is, for Chaos Will, is the test, or is phase 1 test. Phase 2 test, much more manageable with comms, right? People can memorize the test. People don't even have to memorize the test. They can get hit and tank a spider leg and still pass the test, right? There's room for error there. Phase 3, you just have to figure out what your best strategy is for your team, and you gotta coordinate with your support, your stuns. There's some strategy to that, but if you have a good shot caller, if you have a good leader, and you have a good support class, whether it's a Sia, a Lin, a Bishop, a combination of it. Again, as long as 3 people know what they're doing in phase 3, the other people can just kind of just tunnel there, not even know what to do, just focus on cleansing webs and DPS, and you can clear phase 3. The thing about Chaos Will is phase 1 tests are very unique, where everyone has to just grab the orbs, right? It's something you have to get used to that you're not used to in hard mode, but it's really, once you get the hang of it, once you learn what to do, it's easy to consistently do it week to week. It's just that initial struggle of being in the right places, cleansing, understanding the test, attacking the orb, kind of little small tweaks. But that first clear is challenging, but then after that, it can get a lot easier as people get comfortable and know what to do, right? They can use their iframes, they can use certain things, they can time up their burst to handle it, right? So Chaos Will, I would say, is number 2, and then Varus Hill number 3. Varus Hill number 1, still the hardest boss for me multi, especially when it's like newcomers and it's going to be a 9-minute fight plus, because of the fact that even veteran teams, even people that have been like even if you've cleared for a month comfortably, the week-to-week inconsistency is still like is still the most noticeable in Varus-Hilla. And what I mean by that is 1 week people can get can have 5 skulls remaining, right? Last the entire fight, huge DPS. And then literally the next week, same exact fight, same exact team, nothing's changed, and they can die in 3 to 4 minutes, right? Like a veteran team, big DPS, same aggro, everything. All they have to do is dodge strings, do the DPS, and they still, week to week, there's such huge variance. And if someone dies out, if you're tight on DPS, and if someone dies out early, that's a rerun, right? If you're missing out on, say, that second or third origin skill, right, and a few people die in and out, like, and it's just so frustrating week to week, not knowing what to get, what you're getting out of certain people, or just in general, right? It is very, very challenging. That I think it makes it so, like, it's hard to, the shot caller can't save you, right? A Sia, a support class, can only save you so much, right? But if the players don't know how to dodge the strings, if they don't really know when to blink in, when to blink up to avoid skulls, if they don't see the poison, they're just standing in poison, they're standing in a necrotic on the ground, they sort of tunnel, it's very noticeable, and it affects the team a lot more than any other class, any other fights, right? Chaos Will, really, the DPS just have to stand on one side, let the aggros, you're on the left side, aggros on the right side, and they can just stand there and DPS if you have a good aggro, right? And then you just have to follow directions on test, learn the test, things like that. Varus-Hilla, you can have perfect aggro, pinning everything to the right side, facing all the attacks to the right side, and everyone's standing on the left, and people can still die out to strings, still die out to poison or necrotic, week to week, even if, you know, everything is set up perfectly for them. So that is my take on ranking those 3 bosses: Chaos Will, Chaos Lucid, and Hard Varus-Hilla, single versus team mode. I'd love to know you guys' thoughts though. I think everyone kind of has their preference about what is their favorite, what is the hardest, things like that. So I'd love to hear what you guys think and why. So let me know in the comments below. All right, so quickly, I'm going to talk about the February updates here. They got all in the Discord. They got all the little coupons. This is a big one right here, the skill and preset improvements, which is really nice. So decent. Holy Fountain, if you don't know, is a bishop skill that you are going to, that's going to be place it down, and it's going to do passive healing to anyone in the area. I'm not sure if it's going to be to the party. I think it's just going to be for yourself. So keep in mind that, and I doubt it's going to be 100% uptime. I'm pretty sure in PC, well, PC is kind of hard compared to, but we'll see what the duration and what the healing is like, if it's identical to what bishops have, or if it's kind of more of a self-sufficient, good for solo mode, good for, you know, your own self survivability. And then the Sia hat is a skill, nullifies damage from all attacks when complete. So basically what Sia has, it's sort of like an iframe. So an extra thing to add to the toolkit. I'm pretty sure the Sia's one, it immunes the next 3 attacks within like a 5-second window, but it's a long, like 2 or 3 minute cooldown. So just keep an eye on that. It's going to be very good though. You're definitely going to want to craft both of these and add it to your skill wheel, your preset, add it to your toolkit of skills to sort of cycle through to stay alive and improve your survivability. Okay, and the presets expanded from 4 to 5. That's nice. Also remember, guys, they're going to update the UI, the skill wheel in bossing for PCs. It's going to be more like what the PC version actually has. It's going to be kind of all little icons in a row on the bottom versus the skill wheel. So it's going to make it nice, make it easier to see when you pin bosses in the right corner. Jewels, huge. I hope it doubles or triples the values out of these and makes SSS jewel sets kind of more appealing. and the rates, success rates will be nice as well. And then all of this content, not really sure. Excited about this practice mode, chaos single wheel, multi-Damien, just a lot more options. Just I've been talking about this for a long time. I love practice mode, and I didn't like that you like some bosses you couldn't even get practice mode for. So I'm glad that they updated this quickly. I was afraid that this was going to be something they pushed back towards the end of the year. So I'm glad this is being added here because I'm excited for this. I think a lot of people are excited about this because I know in the comments and talking to people, they are loving the solo content. They are loving practice mode. So I'm glad that they made this an emphasis. And then coin shop 2. So I'm going to talk about this later in the video, but you see there's a part 2 here. So you'll see in game that there's some of the cash shop, the coin shop, sorry, expires sooner than others. Okay, so just keep an eye on that. I'll talk about it later in the podcast here. So stay tuned for that. Lunar New Year, things like that. Use a rewards coupon. So that is a quick outlook into the teaser that just came out this weekend. Can't wait for the patch notes. Can't wait to see what more comes from this, but excited nonetheless for new additions to the game. All right, guys. So I now want to do a hard Archon solo guide for all those people asking. And it is one of my least favorite bosses to solo just because I swear the mechanics of the boss and their kind of backwards swipe attacks is such a pain to deal with that it just eats your power elixirs like crazy, even if you kind of out DPS it. So I'm going to showcase here on my Wind Archer, 83 mil max damage cap, 28% ignoring me defense with the event. Pretty solid. I ended up hitting Absol weapon. So in a pretty good spot physical attack wise, 55, which is usually one of the downfalls, even with most people having pretty decent max damage cap. The ability to cap just becomes harder. So getting the weapon really hopefully boost my damage quite a bit to cap. But here we are. So one of the first things you want to do is you sort of want to burst right away and mainly stun. The stun timing is pretty awkward, so I just use the origin right there just to stun. Not ideal for Wind Archers, but you can see here the damage that gets done is pretty significant. So about 400 built in. And Archon, you see those little crystals on the ground? If 2 of them pop, so if he dashes over a crystal again, it's going to create the purple orbs on the ground. Okay, so you see here I'm trying to kite and just try to get out of the way, and you're going to notice when you do solo Archon, the attacks are endless. Okay, so there I frame those little target scope attacks. And it's really hard for Wind Archers to get their placedown skills consistently, their vortex. So I'm kind of waiting. See, I have to jump up and blink up. You have to go pretty high to dodge that skill, which is really a pain in the butt. And normally in team mode, you can kind of just stand in the corner and tank everything. But in solo, you can see I'm just kind of kiting all around, and I have my Wind Archer shield up, so I'm able to tank more of this damage. But you see my HP is kind of... Pay attention to my HP, actually. Because in practice mode, it's at 50% HP healing. Or... Oh god, yeah, I died there. So you can see there's just so much to deal with. Archon, you still have to do like, what, 800, almost 1 trillion damage to... Oh, my orb went flying, I'm pretty sure. My vortex. Uh-oh. I was able to kite there. But you see, I see about 750 build to get here. Okay? And if you don't know, this is now phase 2. And so phase 2, the biggest difference is that there's no purple orbs. There's no purple crystals on the ground. But it's still a pain to deal with. Again, in solo mode, a lot of the times you can just stand in this corner and tank all these attacks. But in sorry, multi-mode, but in solo mode, you kind of have to kite still. And you can stun here if you have like paladin, you have like an actual class stun. But for Wind Archers, I'm really trying to save my stun for phase 3, and I'll kind of explain why. So phase 2 is really about just DPS, watching your HP bar, trying to stay, if you can, pin him in the corner. Look, I'm going to die here, so I have to use some sort of defensive skill. And I almost want to like blink up just to wait for my power elixirs to, my iframes, my defensive cooldown. So you see my R skill, that's my big defensive cooldown that I need to use. And it's a good solid shield that allows me to tank all these attacks. So that's kind of why I blinked up there, to just prevent from dying basically. And then I can use my vortex here, pin it in the corner, get max value. And you can see if I face right, or if I'm pinned in the corner for phase 2, Archon will stay there. Okay, so it won't really dodge back and forth too much. Now phase 3 is the real pain, right? If you don't know, this shield does a huge damage reduction. So you don't really want to burst into this too much. And so you have to use these blue, stand on these blue altars, and and just fill up our gauge. Okay, you see those yellow cracks there? Oh god. Yes, okay, so you gotta be really careful in phase 3 for this screen crack to make sure that you have a blue orb. Oh, that you have a blue orb, or sorry, blue altar to get to. So right there, I was able to burst it down. I was able to cleanse it. And now I'm just full origin everything. So you need about 5 of those explosions right here, the yellow explosions, gauges filled, in order to make Archon take full damage. And so here, just trying to be really careful with the way I position him, because I do not want to be left with no white altars, which is the biggest issue. So I stunned here, allow myself to get full gauge, or try to just maximize gauge here. There's a screen crack there. So I gave myself 1 space to, and here's the burst window. So you can see I'm not going to kill it here, right? Like don't have enough damage. So the main strategy is really just to kind of use your mini burst to fill the gauge. But really standing on the white altars and not tanking attacks is what you really want to do. Because if you see, watch my gauge here, how it's constantly going up. But when I take damage or stand on the purple altar, it goes down. Right? So just got to be really careful here. And I need to get a white altar. Yeah. So that opened up just in time. The white altars come every around 30 seconds too. So just keep that in mind where you're positioning. And just be really, really safe about kiting and where you're going to position him to face his front attacks. And you'll notice that even if you're standing behind him, there's still a possibility of getting hit by some of his overhead smash attacks, which is a huge pain in the butt. But for the most part here, oh shucks, should have done that one. I'm praying for a white here. There you go. And now just really playing it safe. I don't want to get on that white. Okay. Well, that worked out very nicely. Screen crack. And in screen crack, you can fill your gauge here during screen crack. So definitely take advantage of that. You see, that's why he went down. And I'm going to finish it off here. So a long fight. That was a 7-minute fight. Took a few deaths as well. But the main crux of the fight and how long it's going to take is how you sort of manage phase 3 altar cleanses. Okay? How you are able to stay alive and how quickly you can fill those altars. So kind of just pay attention to how I did that. Make sure that, again, he's positioned to do his swipes. It's going to take about, usually takes 1 to 2 attacks for a altar to turn from blue to purple. So that kind of gives you a little bit of an idea of how many, how to take advantage of an altar and positioning, but also understanding you have to keep an altar escape route for that screen crack skill. Because if you're not on a blue altar or a white altar, some would call it, when screen crack comes, it's automatic one shot, even in an iframe. So you cannot iframe those big screen cracks. So I would say the hardest part, take advantage of practice mode for sure, but it's really about mastering the altar cleanses and kiting and being able to kind of get behind his front smashes to minimize sort of damage you take for one, and also just minimize, like, to maximize your gauge efficiency to cleanse, to break that shield in phase 3. And then phase 1 and phase 2 is just surviving. It's a DPS race, but phase 1 is really about kiting those crystals on the ground and making sure that you are safely kind of kiting it and avoiding damage. And if you have to use blink to kind of fly up as a sort of a reset for your power elixirs, do that. Make sure you kind of coordinate and alternate your iframes, your defensive cooldowns, your shields, your bubbles, just so that you are not just, like, you really have to pay attention to your HP gauge, because Archon's attacks are endless and they have pretty long frontal range and actually do hit from behind. Can hit you even if you're behind him as well. So keep that in mind. I hope this helps you guys clear solo hard. You saw the gear that I had. Definitely doable, 7 minutes, but 7 minutes is a long fight for this one. Make sure you have PEs. Make sure that you do practice mode to save yourself the buffs and power elixirs, and just get used to it on your class and get the clears. So hope that helps you guys. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time. Okay, now I'm going to talk about quickly what I've been doing in the past month and what I'm planning on doing moving forward to, just maximize my progress and gains. Okay, so first of all, I'm working on my Hexa passively through auto battle, right? So one of the main things I've been doing is drop rate, getting it up to, there's 2 things I'm focusing on: drop rate and then speed. Okay, so one of the things that I additionally have done is I've been looking at these gold leaves. 3 tickets per account, so it's about 1,200 gold leaves. Okay, so I've been looking at this, and then I've been looking at daily dungeon tickets, right? So daily dungeon tickets is mainly for the jewels, and there's no reason why you only get 1, right? So I put these in my favorites just to keep an eye on it. And then I've been trying to maximize my, and the reason for this Mulongs is so I can get these buffs: 10% speed, 10% drop rate from Mulong. Right? It's kind of the budget-friendly route to take. And I was just trying to figure out how to get more Mulong tickets. So that is where I went with that. And I don't think, as far as I know, that there is any other way to get Mulong tickets. Okay. So that is why I went with the gold leaves. And you can do that daily, right? So it's actually pretty valuable in my opinion. And obviously you don't really want to use Mulong coins to do that. And so drop rate, trying to get drop rate as high as possible, farm as much as possible so I can get my origin to level 10. That is sort of my goal. Look at this. What a pain. This is going to be huge. It's going to probably take me like a week and a half still. Maybe like a week to get it to level 10, a week and a half. And then I'm going to go either Divine Echo or Blast. I think I'm going to go Blast, but still deciding. So that is my route there. And one of the other things I'm trying to do is slowly, I was trying to get my weapon up to 60, bricked it multiple times, trying to get 4 set Arcane, just so we're trying to push for Dark now. So we're trying to get our max damage cap up. I'm one of the lower on my teams, so I gotta start ripping some of these stones. Lin, I'm trying to get my weapon to level 50. I'm gonna get my Lin up to level 50 here, slowly but surely with the mesos, and just slowly, like max damage cap is in a good spot. I don't really think I need to push it because I'm kind of lacking attack. 69. So working my way up to the 70s, 80s that way. Symbols would be nice. Level 200 attack here. Don't sleep on that. 200 attack. And so I'm just slowly trying to build Hexa. My poor Lin doesn't get much farming. He's a terrible farmer, but all of my drop rate stuff is on my Paladin as well. So I'm a little bit behind. Hexa stats, not really going to touch too much. I think I'm going to work my way into getting these and possibly these. These are more support, but I got to work on kind of building this up passively. So Lin is in a good spot. And then I'm trying to focus on account-wide farming. Okay, so one of the things, even these are not 250. One, I'm trying to get this ult to level 250. So I have about 30 days, 32 days to get to level 250, which I think I can do. I'm hoping. I think I can get there. But I'm trying to clear as many bosses as I can to get the frags. Right, the frags are still a good moneymaker. I think I just sold. So this week I sold 13 frags. Pretty good. And then I'm trying to get my Isle up as well to do the same thing slowly. And my goal is to, like I did Lucid, I should be able to do Gloom, Archon, and Will, but I just, like, I'm kind of short on resources right now. Trying to get my Arcane Power up to do Will, but that's my goal, right? I'm trying to get just as many frags as possible. Like I got 4 there. I think this is from the week before. And then Primal. So just trying to make an account based, just building up the accounts. And now, so I'm trying to do the same thing on my Demon Slayer, build it up as much as possible. So I only do Lotus on this Phantom. So this Phantom's kind of far behind. But yeah, I got 4 strong farmers here. 3, trying to get this up to 50, get the Isle up geared enough just so I can do up to Will. And then just try to build up free-to-play fragments for mesos, free-to-play fragments just for farming in general, just to have extra income, right? Whatever I want to do with it. If I want to keep and rip the stones, then I'll at least have the fragment money behind it to do stuff. And so that is sort of what I'm looking at here. And then one of the things I wanted to mention was the event. Oh, I got to buy these. This is good value. One of the things about the event is pay attention to these dates. Okay, if you haven't noticed, this one is 45 days. But look at these other 2. These ones are 10 days. So what does that kind of tell us? That tells us that either after this 10 days expires, it's only going to be 1 shop left, or what's most likely going to happen is they're going to reset these. There's going to be a whole new shop with the patch coming up. There's going to be 10 days left of this, but then I think they're going to add on more. So they're either going to give us more opportunities to get all of these things, all of these, whatever you want to do, buy them out, maybe more tickets. So just be aware of that. Okay, be aware of these time dates here, how much coins you have. You don't have to burn it all, but if you have things you're trying to save up here, 10 days, kind of the expectation and belief, if I were to make a prediction, and you guys know my predictions have been pretty spot on so far, is that they're going to give us more shop stuff, right? Not going to be these big heavy hitters. Maybe they will, that'd be nice, but I would assume just a refresh of all of these things. Give us more options. So that's nice. Just to be aware of that. There's gonna be more things coming. Right. And I always try to look at these event dates. Right, 30 days still on burning. You have time here, 30 days on these, 30 days. This burning boost is gonna end in 3 days. Shine is gonna end in 3 days. So or to pass in 3 days. So there's gonna be a new event here, right? Shoot. And then I think 6-star is going to be done. So I don't think there's going to be anything else. I was hoping that there was something else to get these burning characters up. I'm still hoping and praying that they give us more like potions or stuff to get these burning characters up to 250. But just be aware of that. Some of these things expire. Some of these things last a little bit longer. So, and it will overlap with the next event. So just keep that in mind as you're kind of thinking about what to do within the next couple, before this next patch.